Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's the Against the Ropes podcast. Gio Garcia here. Another episode of Against the Ropes. Christian Mosqueda as well. Another big week in boxing.
Yeah, another big week, Gio. We talked about this on previous podcasts. This one alongside the Joshua Usyk were the two events that I was most excited about. I don't know if you agree. I think it was the most boxer friendly event, and of course, yeah, we're talking about Bivol against Zurdo Ramirez, and it was a masterclass. Gio, what did you think about the fight?
I'm just disappointed that a lot of you came out here last week and pretended like this was going to be a competitive fight. Obviously, it wasn't. Obviously, Bivol dominated. I predicted that he was going to win 8 rounds. He got a couple more than that. If I'm being nice, I think sort of the one, maybe 2. It seemed like Bivol was trying to take some of those rounds off, and even then Surdo wasn't aggressive enough. But very good display, obviously by one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world. He defeated the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and then now proceeds to defeat a contender. And Surdo Ramirez, I don't think he's anything more than that. And it's going to be interesting what happens next now. A little disappointed. I thought Surdo would at least go out on a shield, go out swinging, and we definitely didn't see that. And I know a lot of, especially Mexican fans, are upset at that.
Yeah. Of course, the narrative was that he was going to avenge the Canelo loss, that he was going to take one for Mexico, but he had a tall order in front of him in Bivol, and this fight just proves that Bivol, it wasn't a fluke his win over the previous consensus number 1 pound for pound in Canelo, and yeah, man,
He still is. Don't worry, he still is.
I was one of the ones that I did say on the podcast I was hoping Zurdo would. No.
Just say what you said. Say what you said. Don't be ashamed now. Because we know exactly what you said.
Was gonna come out, and I was wrong. Bivol he's the man. He's the goods. Yeah, he is the guy at 175 right now. Of course, there's another monster in that division, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But hey, man, Bivol just proves that skills pay the bills. I gotta pose you this question, Gio. I know that the Canelo fight earlier in the year put him in most people's top 10 pound for pound. With this one, does this move him to the top 5, in your opinion?
Well, I think with the Canelo win, he should have been top 5 pound for pound already. But if you had any doubts, obviously, one of the best boxers in the world, Dmitry Bivol, another guy in that same weight class, which is interesting enough. You rarely see this, right? Arthur Beterbiev, also one of the top fighters in the world. So let's see if that could happen. But yeah, I think Bivol's skills are special. And he keeps proving it to us.
Yeah. Was there anything that you were impressed with? Something that you didn't see before, or was it just more of this is what I expected? Was there anything else that impressed you from Dimitri?
Not at all. Easy work, like Big Bro says. We saw it happening. Chris, when Big Bro said this fight's gonna end 11-1, Chris did his high pitch. What? He was surprised at it. Not sure why, but I just feel like a lot of people haven't really watched Zurdo fights, so that's why they were adamant that he had more of a chance than what we saw. Like Roger Mayweather said, right? Yeah, a lot of people just don't watch boxing like that, so they expected more, but. No, I didn't see anything new by Bivol. He did what he does, and yeah, like I said, I was just disappointed that Zurdo refused to come forward like he said he was, because look, he was not going to win the fight any other way. He needed to hurt Bivol. Obviously, the skill level is, huge gap between these two. So, not sure what the game plan was. Even when Bivol decided to exchange, he came out on top of those exchanges and still was able to win those rounds and still was able to escape without a single bruise on his face. Still was able to outpoint, outpower, outsmart Zurdo in any style that he was fighting in the fight, whether he was fighting long distance and jabbing and moving, or even on the inside. He just beat Zurdo at every single thing, which is surprising to me. I thought at least Zurdo would have the advantage on the inside.
Yeah, the thing that people wanted to see was how would Bivol, take the size and the reach advantage of a Zurdo. Of course, this is Bivol's natural weight class, and it's Zurdo that, in a sense, was getting comfortable at 175. But everybody knew that Zurdo was going to rehydrate and he was going to come close to 195, 200. I think they said that he was over 200. But that's the thing that people wanted to see. How would Bivol?
Hey, let me stop you there. That's the only reason he didn't get stopped, because he was 200 pounds on fight night.
Yeah. Yeah, but once again, like you mentioned, the skill disparity, the speed disparity that we knew. We knew Bivol had the faster hands, the faster combinations, but it was just a sight to behold, just seeing Bivol just land those flush combinations on Zurdo. A Zurdo who was coming undefeated, that, of course, like you mentioned, he hadn't fought, the top elite fighters, and in a sense, he was, kind of protecting protecting that undefeated streak. But yeah, this is what happens when you go against an elite fighter like a Bivol. And yeah, man, like you mentioned earlier, BDV, that's the fight to be made. In your opinion, does that fight get made in 2023, Gio?
Beterbiev against Bivol?
Yes.
Well, there was a series of statements made by the WBC. I think the fight gets made. Not sure if it's going to be for all the belts. WBC always has some tricks up their sleeve. So I think we could talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, I think it's a fight that it seems like everyone wants, including the two fighters. Bivol said, "I want to be undisputed." There at the end of the fight. Not sure if that means he will be willing to step down to 168 to challenge Canelo for those belts, or stay at 175, challenge Beterbiev for those belts. It seemed like he was saying 175 is my division, but I'm sure when he sees all those zeros after whatever digit is in front there on that paycheck, I'm sure that can convince him to possibly go down to 168. But there's there's obviously those two interesting fights for him, and I think at least one happens, either Beterbiev or Canelo again.
Canelo. And speaking of Canelo, the Zone did put the Canelo Bivol fight free, I believe, on YouTube a week prior to just get hyped for this fight. And there's a lot of people that are saying, hey, we have to put some respect on Canelo's name. He fought much better than Zurdo did. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think we need to put more respect on Canelo's name, or is it just that Zurdo was not on their level?
Well, obviously, Canelo fought one of the best boxers in the world. You have to put his respect on his name. I don't know. It's just interesting, though, how boxing fans, how it works. People didn't know Bivol before that, interesting enough. They were saying Canelo was going to walk over him, knock him out like the other European guys. But we came on here and we stated this is Canelo's biggest challenge. Bivol, up there with Beterbiev, right? Bigger challenge than Benavidez and all these other guys that they want to name, who really aren't on that level. They're nowhere near that level. But Bivol is. So I think a rematch with Canelo is very interesting. And a fight with Beterbiev even more because of Beterbiev's power. He seems to be a machine that can't be stopped. But Bivol is a very smart fighter, man. If anyone can beat him, it's Bivol. Not sure that Canelo can beat a guy like Beterbiev. I think the size difference is too big. But Bivol, Beterbiev, two Russian fighters. Bivol maybe more so in his prime. Beterbiev getting up there in age, but he still looks unstoppable. So things are going to get very interesting in 2023. 2022, I think overall, and of course we'll get a chance to talk about it probably late December, how we rate this year and all that. But 2023 is going to look very interesting. They already announced Benavidez against Plant for 2023. So We can still get many, many good fights. Probably Lomachenko, Haney in 2023. So,
Yeah.
these champions are out there willing to fight each other.
I gotta ask you right now, Gio, if Better Beef and Bivol was made next month or 2 months, right now, who wins that fight? Where they at right now, who wins that fight?
Well, I think I'm gonna go with what most people would say, right? Better BF, but I think it's like a 60-40. I don't think it's a huge gap between the two, and I only say that because Better BF has crazy power, and Bivol not so much. But I think normally, historically, the boxer beats the power puncher, but it just seems like Better BF right now can't be stopped. Like I said, great power, great chin. He has skills. Um, he doesn't have many weaknesses. Honestly, I think um, the biggest thing against him, I think, is probably just father time. But I think that's a great fight. I don't know. Would you want to give a prediction? I don't know. Are you done giving predictions after this Zurdo
Uh,
prediction that you made?
right now, I would favor Better Beef as it gets closer to 2023 when I feel like this fight will get made. I want to say I'll still favor Better Beef, but that gap will narrow. It might get down to 55-45. Hey, maybe even 50-50 if people wants to wait it out. But man, I think Bivol's the type of fighter that he's not gonna want to wait too long. He has, stated that obviously money is important, money is cool, but that legacy and I want to say I believe him. I want to say he's one of those cats that truly believes that he wants his name to be etched in history, and he's proven it with these two fights, and I don't see that changing in 2023. So as it gets, the longer it takes, obviously the more we will favor people, but there's a destroyer in that division that nobody knows, and hey, his name is gonna come out sooner or later here.
118, 110, 117, 111 twice. What were your thoughts when you were watching this performance by Bivol cruising past Zurdo, honestly?
Yeah, obviously the first two rounds were filling out rounds, and then you just see Bivol start to get his rhythm going, his jab, his combinations, his foot movement is what caused Canelo lots of problems. And man, it's half of his game. His defense is sound. I was just in awe. And obviously, as these rounds went on, I'm like, hey, I can't wait for a Better Beef and for these two guys to get in the ring. But yeah, just a master class. Again, Zurdo was the more physically imposing guy, but it was the skills of Bivol. It was his ring generalship, his IQ. The only other guy that I see that has that kind is Usyk and Tyson Fury in a sense. So I'm really impressed with Bivol. And yeah, man, he's earned this year. I got to ask you, Gio. I know that early on we kind of, as it's getting closer to the year, we're going to go out with the awards. So one of those awards is Fight of the Year. Do you feel like Bivol makes a case? We talked about Jesse Bam Rodriguez and how, he's taken out two of the four kings. Does a Bivol make a case for Fight of the Year, in your opinion?
Well, obviously a case. I think he, to me, and we can probably have a more in-depth discussion in December, but he makes a strong case, obviously, Dmitry Bivol. He beat the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world. He beat a contender at 175. I think the thing that, to me, gives the edge to Bam is Bivol fought a smaller Canelo. Bam fought in two divisions higher than his. So he was able to get 3 wins. Bivol 2, obviously, but I think that's the biggest part to me and the biggest argument for Bam Rodriguez. Went up 2 divisions. He beat 2 of the 4 kings. And I don't think you can compete with that, honestly.
Yeah, no, I agree. So yeah, we'll definitely get more in depth with that. But yeah, these two guys for sure have that 1 and 2 place for Fight of the Year. Obviously, Bivol a little bit more mainstream events, more in people's eyes. A lot of people tend to favor the bigger weight divisions, but yeah, man, it's tough to argue against Jesse Bam Rodriguez. Anything else you want to add, Gio? I know we spent a good amount of time on this, which was the event of the weekend.
Yeah, no, I think just to piggyback off that too, if he stops Zurdo, I think now we're talking. Bam was able to stop Sarang Visai. Should have stopped Cuadras, but he was just a warrior who didn't go down. But yeah, very good for boxing, I believe, this fight. What sucks about this is that if Bivol didn't beat Canelo, no one would have cared about this fight. And this was one of the fights that we were looking forward to the most this year. Canelo win or not, we would have said the same thing. But obviously him beating Canelo kind of put all eyes on Bivol and on his Mexican opponent, and they're saying, of course, Oscar did a good job promoting this, saying, "Oh, we're gonna get the revenge for Mexico, and we're gonna do what Canelo couldn't do." But yeah, I think once we saw up to like the fourth, fifth round, we kind of knew how this fight would play out. But yeah, I think overall, very good display by Bivol, more so. Beautiful boxing. He rarely got hit flush against a big dude in Zurdo Ramirez, who I thought was going to be able to post maybe more of a threat because he's a southpaw, but didn't use his length to his advantage, didn't use that stance to his advantage. And we'll see what happens for him. I said, last week he has to win because now he's going to be the forgotten man. Who wants to fight Zurdo now? He's always gone. He doesn't have a title. Why even look in his direction? And these guys are moving on to bigger and better things. But yeah, good fight. Good. We hadn't been getting many big fights in the past like month or so. So I enjoyed this one for sure.
Yeah. I posed Zurdo a question. I asked him if he felt that Canelo underestimated Bivol, and he said that he felt like Canelo did. And there was comments that people thought like, "Hey, you're doing the same thing. You're underestimating Bivol as well, just because of your size." In my opinion, I don't think Zurdo underestimated Bivol, but I think he overestimated himself. I think he thought that he had enough tools to disrupt Bivol, and Bivol had way more weapons at his arsenal. But yeah, again, it's a huge year for Bivol. He rightfully deserves it. I know a lot of people didn't before the Canelo were like, "Oh, he's just a belt holder. Oh, he doesn't have a lot of knockouts." But he's proven me wrong. He's proven a lot of people wrong, and he's shown that he's elite level. In my book, he's top 5 now, and I believe the winner better be even him, regardless of what Usyk or Tyson Fury does. I believe the winner of that fight deserves the number 1 ranking when that comes around. But a great banner year for Bivol. Then, hey man, he can pick and choose in a sense who he fights next. Canelo better be. I think he deserves it.
Chavez Jr. versus Zurdo, says Ruben.
I'm back.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but you want to get Chavez?
Big Bro says Benavides has no chance against Bivol right now. He got to go through Plant first.
Yeah.
He says Zurdo looked dead. Zurdo looked like stopped trying after round 4 or 5. Interesting enough, they did mention during the telecast that the fight was happening around 2 a.m. there in the United Arab Emirates. Not like that would have made a difference, but we didn't see anyone go to sleep in that ring, so I don't think that made a huge difference. But yeah, it was good overall. I think the undercard, one fight to highlight was Jessica McCaskill, who lost her undisputed title. Let's see if they can run it back. But yeah, she didn't look good throughout the fight. Honestly, I was rooting for her, but she couldn't get it done at the end of the day.
Yeah, those are the kind of fights where You have an off night, your opponent, in a sense, there's nothing to
It
lose.
happens.
That's their opportunity, their chance. They're gonna make the most of it. And like you said, a little surprising. Hopefully they that's not like her. Hopefully they run it back. She's who she really is, and gets the belt. The belt's back, and she's a great. I think she has a great future in sports broadcasting. And she's very knowledgeable, and yes, that happens. Boxing.
Comics Vet says Bivol is just a whole different kind of animal. Ruben says just expected a little more pressure or body work from Zurdo, but it didn't happen. Yeah. Not much.
Yep.
He didn't change it up much. He threw a couple sneaky uppercuts, couple hooks to the body there, but wasn't consistent enough. Looked gassed out at the end, and Bivol looked fresh. I think Bivol respected Zurdo's power, and that's why he didn't go for it. But anyone else, he probably gets a stoppage, Bivol, there at the end.
I guess I got to ask you, Gio, after obviously, Canelo's pride is going to make him want this fight. But after seeing this performance, what can Canelo do differently, if anything, in a rematch?
Well, I think what he did versus Triple G the second time, he came in a little slimmer. He looked kind of heavy, sluggish there against Bivol. He probably just thought, I need to keep up with this guy physically. But I don't know. At least that's the adjustment that he made against Triple G the second time. He looked a little slimmer. He kind of moved around more. He looked more confident. Not sure, if that's enough to beat a guy like Bivol. But I think the game plan is just going to be different. I think he'll make it more of a chess match as opposed to just coming at Bivol. Because when he was doing that, trying to walk Bivol down, it wasn't happening. So I think if he decides, hey, let's box, I'm going to wait for his move first and try to counter him, I think that's where things get interesting, because Bivol feeds off of his opponent's attack a lot of times, and which was surprising because in this one he was just picking his shots against Zurdo at times. But yeah, I think that's a great chess match if it does happen again. Canelo and Bivol.
Okay. And then a previous opponent of Canelo was Caleb Plant. And you mentioned earlier the fight was announced. Caleb Plant taking on David Benavidez. And the WBC had their, whatever, quarterly, meetings. And, some mandatories were announced. Gio, do you want me to go through those? You tell me which ones you like, all right?
I don't really care, but go ahead.
So WBC mandatories announced. As mentioned, Plant versus Benavidez. The winner will take on Canelo. Wilder versus Ruiz Jr. That one is a very intriguing matchup. Two named fighters in that heavyweight division. Both came up short. Ruiz.
Keep moving. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Keep going. Errol Spence Jr. versus Keith, once upon a time, Thurman. Haney taking on Lomachenko for the undisputed, mandatories announced, and your boy Shakur Stevenson taking on Isaac Cruz. Of all those that were mentioned, which one most intrigues you, Gio? There's got to be one.
Well, obviously there's one that actually matters. I think the Haney Lomachenko one. The other ones is a bunch of guys who have already lost to the champion. So not sure. I mean, it's a business, You got to make it happen. Yeah. Plant already lost to Canelo. Wilder lost to Fury, 4 times already? 3 times? I mean, doesn't make sense, right? But if it makes sense, it makes sense.
It does. All right, so Haney Lomachenko, and I know we talked about this a little bit last week. Obviously, not Lomachenko's natural weight. We talked about that size advantage that he's giving away. How do you see that fight playing out?
Which one?
The Haney versus Lomachenko.
I think we talked about it a little bit last week, and we can probably. I don't have anything to say about it right now. I don't know if you do.
Yeah, no. For me, it's just I've always said this. I respect Haney. I know we don't. Sometimes when fighters call out fighters, unless it's signed, sealed, and delivered, we're just like, it's just for publicity. It's just to get their name. But I truly feel Haney wants that fight. I think he believes in himself. I think he is probably, like I said about Sula earlier, maybe, overestimating his abilities over Lomachenko. But that's a very intriguing fight, in my opinion. Wilder versus Ruiz, like you said, Wilder has had three chances, come up short every single time. This one still intrigues me just because they're named fighters. Ruiz Jr., he's got some good boxing ability. Wilder has that one-punch knockout. It's intriguing. Obviously, they're going to put a big pay-per-view price tag on that I don't think anybody should pay, but to me, that one's intriguing. Errol Spencer's third ring. Give me your thoughts on that. Quick thoughts.
It's PBC. It makes sense.
It makes sense. And Stevenson Cruz, do you give Cruz a chance against Shakur?
No.
At all? No one punch? No one lucky punch that can land?
No.
All right. So, yeah, that's the WC mandatories. I think they're interesting. I want to see if they are upheld. I don't see why not. But to me, these are all named fighters. There's all names that people recognize. So this should be good. Another thing that was intriguing to me was the decision by the WBC to drop our Russians from their rankings. I do believe Bivol claims, U.S. Representation, so he'll stay on. But what are your thoughts on that, G? I don't know if you heard about that.
Well, he's Russian, so yeah. What I read was the WBC will not sanction any fights in Russia and Belarus, and any fights involving fighters from those two countries. So when we speak about Beterbiev, when we speak about Bivol, that's why I said earlier, if it happens, not sure that it will be for all the belts. Now not sure how a war or a political issue applies to boxing and why that decision was made, but it was made. So, yeah, I don't know. I was a bit confused by that.
Yeah. Yeah, with the WBC, they just have I guess they're like the moral police. It seems like they're, there's something going on. They're gonna try to put their 2 cents in. I see this as kind of like what do you call that? You try to hurt them where it hurts, in their rankings, their pockets, trying to send a signal, but I don't know, man. I don't know how to feel about that. Some of these fighters have.
I see a bunch of fights in the Middle East. I see a lot of Chinese fighters still ranked, so not sure where that comes from. To me, it's all about consistency. If you're gonna judge someone, then judge everyone else too. Yeah, I was a bit confused by that. I don't know. Nothing else on that.
I wouldn't want to be punished for something that my, country does. Like, okay, culpa tengo. I'm trying to make a living here. But I mean, it is what it is. We'll see how that plays out. But
hey, they're smart. You're talking about it, right?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like you mentioned, there's an all-Russian 170-pound matchup, and to find out who the best is, you would want, all the belts that they have at their disposal to be on the line. But hey, if that green belt's not there, it's not going to change anything. We do know these guys are the best in that division, and hey, man, I'll still recognize them as the best. Whoever gets their hand raised when that fight happens.
Yeah, I feel like we should stop giving these people publicity. That's all. All these announcements and statements, and I don't care. Let's just talk about boxing. I don't care about those people. But before we go to the next question, let's go to some comments. Ruben says Shakur too big for Cruz. Big Bro says Loma 65-35 against Haney. He says Shakur will be so lucky to get that easy fight before fighting for the belts. Ruben says Rolly versus Cruz, more like it. LOL. And Big Bro says WBC is turning more into a joke. And then Jesus checking in. He says, we still talking about Canelo Bivol. Better BF versus Bivol is a fight we need. See, we need that type of talk. We need more people to speak like that, because the masses still want the Canelo fight, but that 175 fight between the two Russians is massive. It's massive. It's a huge, huge fight.
Yeah.
And like you said, that can possibly determine the best pound for pound right now. Both of them are up there, probably top 5, top 6. So that's an interesting fight for sure. One for the history books.
Yeah. Somebody posed this question: who was the most underrated boxer currently in boxing? And I put Beterbiev because he's an accomplished champion, undefeated. We the boxing heads know who he is, but the mainstream media, the casual fan, has no idea who he is.
Forget all that. Who do you think is more underrated, though, him or Bivol?
I want to say Beterbiev just because Bivol has he's been giving his credit. Now people know him because of Canelo. Now people really give him credit because of, in a sense, this last fight.
Well,
so look, I think it's Beterbiev.
Well, Beterbiev has that win against Vostek, right? That's the big one. That to me was like, okay, this man is not to be played with. And then Bivol got the Canelo win, of course. That's the mainstream win. Smaller guy, but still a huge win, in my opinion. And then I guess if you want to say Zurdo, if you want to say Joe Smith Jr., probably better resume than Beterbiev, but both of them are up there, man. Surprisingly, for underrated fighters. Big Bro says Bivol versus Beterbiev should happen in their motherland. I agree. That would be huge. I just can't say it because what's going on over there. Ruben says David Morrell is coming for these dudes too. Yeah, that was a crazy fight, and we must mention that before we get out of here too. But we can do that in a little bit. But my question, and then you guys can answer too here on the live chat, is there a better undisputed matchup right now than Beterbiev and Bivol? All right. There's some other ones that are kind of making more noise possibly, but I'm not sure, man. Of course, we can give some examples. Haney, Lomachenko, Crawford versus Spence versus Crawford. I got to say his name first. Put some respect on him. There's Spence out here fighting champions. Crawford out here fighting these Europeans once again. So got to put some respect on Spence's name. What other undisputed matchups are there? Fury, Usyk. Right, there's a lot of good ones right now. Is Bivol Beterbiev the one you would want to see over all these other ones?
Yeah, to me it is, just because they both have like an aura of invincibility right now, in my opinion. Bivol's stock rose so much, this year, and we know what Beterbiev is and what he does and what he's done against what you mentioned earlier. Usually you favor the boxer type over the the puncher, but we seen what Beterbiev did. He didn't just beat this guy; he retired him. That blows my mind. Again, they're evenly matched in a sense. They're undefeated. They're, two undefeated guys. Both not giving an inch. And man, it's just that's the one. That's the one for me.
More so than your boy Fury and your favorite Usyk?
That one's good too. It's just this little size disparity in that one.
I know some people. I know some people will say Spence Crawford just because people have been waiting for that one so long. But I've been over that one for since 3 years ago. Big Bro says Bivol versus Beterbiev is the one right now. Ruben says Bivol and Beterbiev the ones with the biggest pelotas right now. LOL.
Yeah, they're the ones that are. Like I mentioned earlier about Bivol. I can see them being the type to just do it. No nonsense. No. Oh, I'm not gonna sign the contract. Oh, I want transparency. Oh, my advisor says this and that. Nah, these guys are both old school, throwback type of fighters, and I I can see that being a trilogy. I can see that being a trilogy if Bivol is able to, absorb, and I can see that one being that type. So it's for me, it's that one.
No,
BBB.
no Tim Zhu versus Charlo.
No, man, these guys are still too green. These guys are
disrespectful.
These guys are ready, man. These guys are prime. Come on, and then Beterbiev is, he is
Look,
37, but he looks like a fresh 33 in my book.
Look,
he's the one dishing out the punishment. He's not the one taking it. So
I'm gonna have to agree. I think there's big fights. Fury Usyk probably number 2 for me, but definitely I think this is the biggest fight that can be made in boxing right now. The most fun fight, entertaining fight, and with the bigger stakes, bigger. I mean, look, undisputed. Both men are Russian. Both men are in my top 10 pound for pound. I mean, I don't think it gets bigger than that. Look, Usyk and Tyson too. They're in my top pound for pound. But I think Fury beats Usyk. And this better be if Bivol. We're still going back and forth, even though we favor one guy. But we're still going back and forth, and we're going to be debating this for a long time to come until it happens. Hopefully it happens. So I'm going to have to agree. Right now, these are the two guys we all want to see.
Yeah. And again, I don't know if people have seen it, but I know the pros are different from the amateurs, but hey, there's footage of Beterbiev dropping Usyk and the amateurs, and
wow,
that's just a little foretelling of what kind of a beast he was going to be in the pros. So to me, that's the one right now. That's the one, and I hope it gets made in 2023. I know they have, I know Beterbiev has Yarde, but hey, I believe that could be made in next year.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of people believe that Bivol will take the Canelo fight, right? Because it seems like Beterbiev already has another compromise that he has to get out the way first, and then move on to the fight that we all want to see. But yeah, moving on from that event, there is some action going down this Saturday, November 12th. Janibek, I'm not even going to attempt his last name, but he's undefeated 12-0 versus Denzel Bentley. Middleweight action in Vegas, Nevada, ESPN Plus. Probably not. Probably doesn't sound too catchy, right, when you mention those two names. But that undercard, though, the undercard is the one I'm looking at. Undercard, Inés Estrada will be on there, 22-0, now with Top Rank. Raymond Murataya, 15-0, our boy, friend of the show. Our other friend of the show, Carlos Valderas, 13-1. He's on there as well. Javier Martinez, out of the RGBA. We have some interviews with him as well, 7-0. And then Emiliano Vargas, newly signed to Top Rank, also undefeated, 1-0.
Yeah, man, that's a sad card with friends of the show, man. Hey, we can't forget our boy Kid Kansas fighting November 12th, 12. Like, that's their day, man. I think they all got together and like, hey, y'all, let's all fight on the same day. Shit.
Hey, you guys don't click on the links in the chat, man. Someone's trying to get you guys to watch some sexy videos or something. Watch out.
Yeah, man,
don't get hacked.
It's gonna be fun to see our guys in there and do their thing, climbing up the ranks. Hey, man, I like watching this progress as much as people like seeing the Canelos, and the Bivols and these main events, man. This is where they learn. And hey, there's hiccups on the road, and this is where they live. This is where we see what they're made of. So hey, man, can't wait to see Raymond, Carlos in there and do their thing.
Yeah, and of course, Kid Kansas, as you stated, 6-0, 5 KOs. He is fighting in Kansas once again. that's going down this Saturday as well. And then we could also give a rundown of the boxing schedule for the rest of the year and probably mention some fights early next year. Did you have anything else to add on anything that transpired this past weekend or anything this upcoming weekend, Chris?
To me, it's the 11th round, man. This is where we close up the year, and obviously, we'll talk more in depth of how this year went. But I want to say I'm pretty happy with how the events that we had, the Joshuas and the Usyks and such events. But yeah, no, man, I'm happy and happier than most years.
Interesting. All right. I'm going to pull up the boxing schedule here, entertain the fans while I go ahead and do that. Not sure if you want to read some of the comments. Ruben saying Munguia fighting this month too, I think.
Munguia's back. Yeah, I know Gio's not too excited with these WBC mandatories, but to me, I mean, they're names. I like seeing the names get back in there.
Hey, man, you say WBC one more time, I'm going to throw this belt behind me. I'm just going to freaking toss it in the trash can.
Yeah, like the Stevenson Cruz fight. If it gets made, hey, I think that's a good little scrap. Obviously, we know who we're favoring. I know who I would favor, but hey,
yeah, you love Cruz. I know you think he's going to win.
Cruz made Gervonta sweat a little, so obviously two different style fighters, Gervonta and Shakur. But hey, man, don't overlook that little guy, man. He's got a punch. He's got an engine. He can make it tough, man. I was talking to Big Bro and Brian earlier, and I'm like, that's a little Mayweather versus Maidana there, Stevenson and Cruz. Obviously, we know who the boxer, the technician is in there. We know who he's the rugged fighter. Yeah, man, if Cruz wants to have some success, he's going to have to watch some tape and definitely come in shape, and he's going to have to keep that pace all 12 rounds. Stevenson doesn't have the most power, but he's a great defensive fighter in there, and he's going to be frustrating Cruz all night, so Cruz is going to have to watch some tape on some Maidana tape if he wants to have some success.
Yeah, hold on, I got to look this up because I got the boxing schedule there on the screen. It says Raymond Matias is fighting Miguel Contreras. Is that the caveman?
Is that him?
I got to look it up. But anyway, go ahead, continue.
Hey, okay. That's him. That's a good fight. Okay. And as for Wilder Ruiz, man, obviously most people would probably favor Wilder. Maybe people feeling Ruiz doesn't have the movement to evade a right hand. But hey, if Ruiz wants to have success, he's going to have to try to knock out Wilder. And in my opinion, in 5 rounds or less, he's going to have to just, impose his boxing skill early on and try to get him out of there. In my opinion, Wilder is damaged goods now, going through 3 wars with Tyson Fury. But, man, these fights are intriguing to me once they get made, if they get made. Plan Benavidez, man, what is there to say? These are two of the most well-known 168-pounders. They both don't like each other. True animosity. Benavidez does not like Plant. Plant has entered, in my opinion, the chat in people's minds after the Canelo fight. He gave a good account of himself. But, man, it's Benavidez for me, man. Benavidez got too much size, too much speed, and he's going to want to hurt this guy. So don't expect an embrace from them at the end of the fight, in my opinion. But
hey, let me get at least 10% of that WBC check when it comes in, man.
Yeah, Plan is there. So I'm excited for both fights.
Yeah, let me get at least 10% of that WBC check, Chris, for allowing you to speak this long on nonsense. But let's go to some comments here. It is the Caveman, by the way, from Bakersfield, California. He's 12-1. 12-1-1. He did get stopped. He has been on a decent roll since. Well, he had a draw by split decision against Hector Tanajara. And then he defeated Josek Ruiz. So this should be a very good fight. And tune in. Raymond Ataya, future pound-for-pound fighter. You heard it here for like the 10th time, right? Like anybody in the anybody from the amateur circuit knew about the Murataya brothers. Carlos Alderas, Ryan Garcia. These guys all sparred in their backyard gym. And Morataya actually beat Ryan Garcia like 3-4 times in the amateurs. So even then, Ryan has nothing but good things to say. When Chris asked him, "What do you think about Raymond?" he said, "Hey, he's a beast. He's a big beast. Expect great things." So make sure to check out Raymond Morataya as you guys see it there on your screen. That's the schedule on ESPN Plus this weekend.
Yeah. What do you expect for Raymond when he fights a caveman? Obviously, caveman, different levels, but he's still a tough opponent. What do you expect?
You just be sounding disrespectful. Maybe not even trying, but no, I think Raymond is going to do what Raymond does. You know, he breaks his opponents down. Like, he's just a different type of fighter. And I think there's going to be a good scrap because Miguel Contreras is the type of fighter to never quit. He's going to keep coming. So it's going to be very interesting. I just think right now Raymond is an ultra smart fighter and he's on another level. And as he continues to step up in competition, I think more and more people will recognize that and give him his props. ESPN crew loves him. Timmy, Andre Ward, they give him his props every single time, but people are still sleeping on him. So I think it's going to be a very good, interesting fight. And at times, I think he's going to have to dig deep against Contreras.
Yeah, I think inside that RGBA stable, outside of Bam Rodriguez and Virgil Ortiz, obviously Virgil no longer with RGBA, but Raymond is probably the name that was most heard of, talent wise. So he gets good sparring, and hopefully we see a tremendous performance come Saturday.
Yeah, and we're going to be getting out of here shortly, ladies and gentlemen, as we go through this calendar. We got a few more, big events to show here. An interesting one here is November 26th, Carson, California, on pay-per-view, Regis Prograis against Jose Cepeda for the vacant WBC junior welterweight title. Good fight, two top dogs in that division. Of course, with Josh Taylor vacating the belts, they're going to be going around, and I think they chose two good names to fight for that green belt. But I did want to highlight the undercard on there. A lot of great local talent. Yocasta Valle is on there. Nathan El Morenito Rodriguez is on there. Friend of the show. Austin Brooks as well, friend of the show. Fernando Vargas Jr. is on there. This one is very interesting, Chris. Jacob Makaloloy against Sincere Brooks. Right? So Sincere, friend of the show as well, fights out of Long Beach, the Jackrabbit Boxing Academy, against Jacob Makaloloy, who we've called his fights here locally. Doesn't have the boxing experience, perhaps, of Sincere Brooks. But that's an interesting one on the undercard. And then also Amado Vargas is on there. So they stacked it up with a lot of local talent.
Yeah. That's going to be a good card, man. We may just make that trip. Yeah, so John Cepeda, Regis fighting for that green belt. Isn't John Cepeda Russian? Just kidding.
Don't joke like that, Chris. We already see the bots in the comment section.
Perfect. But yeah, that's a great fight, like you mentioned. Obviously, I haven't heard too much of Taylor since he dropped them belts, but like you said, Regis, shown two guys that are big names in the division, and then one of those guys will rightfully win this belt. And of course, John Cepeda training with our guy Andy Aguilar. I'll definitely try to stop by and see if we get some interviews beforehand before this big fight.
Yeah, very exciting. Almost as exciting as Tyson Fury against Derek Chisora.
Man.
December 3rd. You guys see it there on your screen. December 3rd, London. I'm sure a lot of people are going to show up. But, yeah, let's go to some comments before we give our thoughts on that. Big Bro says, once again, Cruz couldn't knock out Bandido Vargas last year. Stop with the weak comparisons, Chris. That's his boy, man. He's going to get upset. That's Chris's boy. And Ruben says, I canceled my DAZN. Got too expensive and doing the pay-per-view crap.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what? I don't have DAZN, but I will bring back my subscription for fights that are worth it. I did pay for this month just to watch this fight, Bivol against Zurdo. So, yeah, I thought it was going to be worth it. And honestly, it was. My guy won. My guy Bivol won. So, all right, let's keep moving on here. As you guys see it, December 3rd, busy day for boxing. You guys see there, Fury Chisora in London. Also for Glendale, Arizona on DAZN, Juan Francisco Estrada against Roman Gonzalez. That's another big one. Two very good fights that same day, December 3rd. Yeah, nothing on that, Chris? No respect for the little guys?
For the little guys, I mean,
Wow.
they do their thing. They do their thing.
Let's move on, man. Whatever. Disrespectful. December 10th, Teofimo Lopez against Jose Pedraza. No, nothing.
That one's that's what 140.
Yep. Another dub for Teofimo.
Yeah, another dub.
You know what confuses me though? You know what confuses me is these are supposed to be stay busy fights, right? Yeah. But if you're fighting once or twice a year, how is that a stay busy fight? Like, I don't understand. Stay busy back in the day used to mean, all right, I may fight in, February. April, I may take a stay busy fight. Then I fight, I don't know, maybe again in the summer. And then maybe I fight again in September, maybe in December, when guys are fighting 4 or 5, 6 times a year. They would stay busy fights, just to stay sharp. Pat their records a little bit. We talked about Julio Cesar Chavez, how he would fight a champion and then he would fight a guy who's like 12-6 and then fight another 2 champions and then fight a guy who's like 7-8 back in the day, Yeah. Those guys are just staying busy. These guys, I don't know. I don't understand it really.
I mean, I think he had a rapid ascent. He was, he had Nakatani. He had who was the guy from Ghana?
Comey.
He has some good names, and I think he's kind of convincing himself, or maybe his team is telling him, like, yo, slow it down a bit. You went up fast, you had a loss. Like, let's take some tune-up fights. But it's his stock is dropping, man. This is not the Teofimo that garnered so much fans, with that ascent. So he's only hurting himself with this. But we'll see what happens after this fight. Again, people know Pedraza, but Pedraza's no, type of fighter, type of dance partner that's going to get people to pay tickets. I mean, we'll see what he does after this.
And guess what? Surprise, surprise. Same day, December 10th, Omaha, Nebraska. You know what's coming next. Terrence Crawford against another Eastern European. This guy now with 3 losses. So that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, with me, I got to keep that same energy that I did with Teofimo. Again, this is not a fight that gets people, off their seats and paying. So it's of course we know that the negotiations were going down with Daryl Spence and they fell through, but this is not it.
Yeah, Ruben says, I guess Munguia doesn't fight this month. Sorry, my mistake. It's all right. Chris makes 10 mistakes on air, so every single time. Don't worry, we forgive you. But I remember they did announce his fight. It was another opponent that people weren't happy with. I just can't remember off the top right now who it was. But let's talk December 10th, Leeds, England. DAZN, Josh Warrington against Luis Alberto El Venado Lopez. Now we're talking here. IBF featherweight world title. Can Venado do it again?
I think so. I think he's got the tools. He's got that dog in him. He's got that awkward style to give anybody problems, and I don't think Warrington's gonna know what's gonna hit him, man. But of course, it's what kind of Warrington shows up. So it's in Warrington's home. Vanilla Lopez can't overlook him. He's gonna come in tip top shape. I'm sure he will, and just bring that dog in him that come fight night.
Yeah, and one of my favorite fighters right now, I must admit, Luis Alberto Lopez. Interesting style, very unique, and this will be a huge win if he's able to do it, which I think he will. I think he has a good chance of stopping Warrington, and of course he trains with our boy Andy Aguilar, the strength and conditioning over here, so we'll definitely be rooting for them.
Yeah, we know Warrington. He had hell with
Lara,
with Lara.
Mauricio Lara.
You know those Brits, man. They don't like that Mexican style, and that's exactly what Vinaldo's gonna bring. He's gonna dig to the body, and hey, I think Warrington's gonna go down to the body.
Yeah,
Bring those belts back, bro.
I posted something interesting on Instagram like a couple months ago, and then announced this fight. This Mexico versus England is becoming a very good rivalry in boxing, man. Especially in recent times, of course. USA was claiming Reese right in that first fight against Joshua, but then after that, everyone was saying he was Mexican. But that fight was big. Of course, if you take it back to Barrera, Prince Nassim Hamed, Canelo fought a few Englishmen, Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, Amir Khan, Beefy Smith. And I forgot what other fights there were, but very interesting fights right now between Mexico and England. So I think this one's definitely going to add to that rivalry.
And I have to say, Gio, I think the fall of the Puerto Rican fan base, the fall of that Puerto Rican star has kind of made a vacuum for the British to come in. I'm not saying the British are just as good as the Puerto Ricans, but hey, man, they get behind their fighters the way they get behind their football teams. Hey, man, they make you believe that your guy is a pound for pound fighter, man. I'll tell you that.
Big Bro says about Munguia, might as well not fight. Looking at who he's fighting. LOL. Ruben says he's been having bad luck with Mexicanos, and Big Bro says Warrington has not had bad luck. He's just gotten whooped. Yeah, I think the second fight ended due to an accidental headbutt. Right, that was a no contest with Mauricio Lara, the rematch. A lot of people were saying that Warrington was lucky and escaped a second beating, but and I was high on Warrington, honestly. I remember a couple of years ago, I think I called him the second or third best fighter from the UK. Obviously, Fury was up there, Josh Taylor, and to me, Warrington was. But man, that whooping that Lara gave him, I don't think he's the same. And hopefully, sorry, Josh, and sorry, mates, but I hope that Bernardo can do that to him as well.
I think he whooped on Carl, or no, what's his name? Frampton? I think that's why we were so high on him.
Yeah, he did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this little brick can fight, but yeah, like you mentioned, he got in. He met a lot and never been the same.
Never been the same. And then December 13th, Tokyo, Japan, ESPN Plus, the Monster, one of the top pound for pound fighters in the world. No, yeah, I know it, against Paul Butler. That's on a Tuesday for us. So if y'all want to stay up, watch that early in the morning. That's the Monster, December 13th, Tokyo, Japan.
And that's the last belt, if I'm not mistaken, correct, Gio? That's one of the last belts that he wants to collect before moving up. So, yeah, I think...
Butler WBO bantamweight title. Champion, sorry.
I can't wait to see the Monster jump up, man. I think he's with this fight, he'll be done with any notable name in that division, and I think he needs to challenge himself in the next division.
Yeah, and that seems like that's it for the next couple months. The rest of 2022. Of course, we'll rate how we thought the year went. But yeah, that's what it's looking like from now on. October, maybe not the hottest month in boxing, but November, December, they'll pick it up a bit, and hopefully it's a great end to the year. To me, honestly, I haven't really thought about it, but I think just judging by the schedule and judging by the year, I think my picks are locked as far as like the fighter of the year and all these awards that we like to speak about, at the end of the year. I think for mine are locked in already.
Yeah, for me, I'm still gonna have to see some things. Maybe they're already set. But I'll go through them, and then I'll give you guys my picks. And I'm sure Joe will put up some of the awards, and we'll do a poll. But yeah, man, I've been pretty happy with this year. Obviously, some of the fights that we wish would have happened, we kind of know the powers that be wouldn't let them. So, hey, man, we'll have a wish list for next year, and I think I'm gonna try to keep it more realistic next year instead of being so hopeful. But pretty happy, pretty content with the boxing schedule this year.
All right, let's hit you with some rapid fires before we get out of here. Off the top, will Zurdo become a champion?
Will Zurdo become a champion?
175, cruiserweight, heavyweight maybe. Does he become a champion again?
175. Not while Bivol and Better are in there. So, yeah.
That's a no?
That's a no. So, straight out no.
Will we get any major announcements from here till the end of the year? Any major fights that being announced for 2023? 3.
I feel like boxing has surprises, and we'll get something. We'll get a surprise, man. That's what boxing does. There's always the unexpected. So I say yes.
If you are Bivol, who do you fight, Canelo or Beterbiev?
Man, if I'm Bivol, I get a good paycheck with Canelo first.
Smart.
But if I'm a boxing fan,
I'm staying away from Beterbiev if I'm any man on earth.
Honestly, if I'm a boxing fan, I don't want these guys to lose that hope before they fight each other. So I would want them to take accessible competition, if you want to call it that.
Big Bro says not at 175, Zurdo. His best chance is going against Makabu at cruiser. People forgot about Makabu, huh? He was posting pictures there with the WBC and all that stuff.
Sure.
All right, last one off the top. Man, let's make it a good one. If you can think of any for me, let me know. But
sure. I'll give you 2.
All right, go for it while I think and come up with the last one.
Okay. All right. Who is the first fighter to lose their O of these 3? Dimitri Bivol, Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk.
Alexander Usyk.
Yeah. Okay.
Without a doubt. Tyson Fury ain't losing. If Bivol fights Beterbiev, he might, but if he doesn't, I don't think he loses. And I think Usyk has the biggest odds against him because I mean, if he's fighting, he's probably gonna fight Fury, maybe a Wilder, I don't know. One of the heavy hitters.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Which fight gets made first? Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, or Beterbiev and Bivol?
Beterbiev, Bivol. I'm done with the other two, man. They're asking for too much transparency. But I got my last one for you. Who should be the A side? Haney or Lomachenko? Haney or Lomachenko?
The A side of Haney and Lomachenko. Man, I hate these A sides and B sides, man, to be honest. I really hate this. Man.
There's got to be one. There's always one who brings more business to more money to the table.
I mean, Haney has all the belts, but who really brings in the viewers is Lomachenko.
I don't know one Devin Haney fan. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's one of the bringers. They'll say like, "Well, I have all the belts, so I'm the A side." I would have to say just because Haney has the belts, and Lomachenko's the challenger, so by that Haney is the A side. Even though we know that people are going to be tuning in because of Lomachenko.
There's gonna be 2 B-sides.
2 B-sides for real. Yeah.
All right, your last question before we get out of here.
Okay, last question. Who do you think is going to have a breakout year in 2023, in your opinion?
I ain't jumping the gun, huh? Well, of course, I mentioned him earlier. I think it's Raymond Murataya's year. I think this is the year 2023 where we start seeing him challenge. You know how it goes. They challenge the old veterans, get them out of there, and then they start challenging the contenders and then start slowly moving up. I think that's what he's going to start doing in 2023.
Okay.
Do you have someone in mind or no?
Yeah, and I have some more questions, but we'll save them for other podcasts. We'll save them for the end. Yeah. Do you want me to ask you another one, or do you want me to save it for?
If you have a good one.
All right. Who was the fighter that most disappointed you this year? The one that maybe their stock fell off, and just who was that guy?
Who? This might have to lead to a longer discussion at the end of the year. Man.
We can leave it to the.
I can't say this name because people are gonna say I'm biased. Because I've been saying this about this guy for the past 4 years.
Oh shit, Bud.
I mean,
all right, other than Bud,
that guy just refuses to fight anyone.
Other than Bud, who has like disappointed you this year? I guess who's fallen off?
Do you have any names you want to throw out there? I can't think of anyone.
I would probably say Josue Vargas. No, it was
oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is the year, right, where his mouth just got the best of him.
That's a great pick.
I would say him because, like, last year he was a prospect, right?
I may have to agree with Big Bro on this one too, Benavides.
Oh, disappointing?
Another wasted year. Did absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing.
That's a good one. That's a good pick.
That's a really good pick.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. Like he did extremely bad this year, but like this was a year where he felt that he was gonna get big fights, and that wasn't the case.
Yeah, but he fought Lemieux, a 160-pounder who hadn't fought in I don't know how long. Almost died trying to make weight, and then his next fight was supposed to be Uzcategui. I mean, come on, man. Come on. I agree with that one. But yeah, we'll have to think about more questions like this, and obviously we'll have to think about who else disappointed us and who impressed us the most and all that. But we'll probably revisit this convo in a month or so, and then let you guys get some votes in as well. We'll post some polls. That way, when that show comes around, we can hear what you guys had to say and have a good convo from there. Ruben says, when will we see a Canelo KO again?
It's been a minute.
So he's supposed to fight what, May maybe? He just had that surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Big Bro says when he fights Benavides. Hey man, that midsection looking real soft. People were criticizing Triple G. Man, he got the softest midsection there in Benavides, and that's a big target, but let's get out of here before we start getting flagrant.
Let's get out of here, man. Let's go.
All right. He just KO'd Plant last year around this time. Yeah, that was about a year ago. And that was even interesting to me because Plant posted that saying last year something proved that I was among the best boxers in the world or something like that. It's like, bro, you got knocked out. Did you forget? You got stopped. But yeah. I have a feeling that might be Plant's biggest accomplishment of his career, fighting Canelo. Not sure he beats a guy like Benavidez, but Benavidez hasn't just been fighting anyone, so it's so difficult to judge him at this point to me. 1 year ago, I said he stops Plant, beats him up, batters him. Now it's like, man, I haven't even seen the guy fight anyone, so that makes things a little more interesting to me. But yeah, we'll revisit these topics. Thank you guys. Thank you, mates, for tuning in. Thank you guys for keeping that chat lit. Once again, Dimitri Bivol walks away with the victory over Zurdo Ramirez. Dominant performance. 118, 110, 117, 111 on 2 scorecards. Look good out there, and there's only sets up bigger fights for him in 2023, hopefully. I'll say that in parentheses. But yeah, thank you, mates, for tuning in. We'll be back very soon. Any last anything else you want to add, Chris?
No, that's it, man. Just thank you guys for the continued support throughout the year, man. It's 11th round. 1 more to go. Let's finish strong.
One thing I did forget to mention was I don't want to mess up the name, but Morel, his opponent, ended up receiving a brutal KO and subsequently ended up in a medically induced coma. You never want to hear these type of news as a boxing fan. Of course, you got to wish him a speedy recovery. And then this is a grim reminder, man. You don't play boxing. So we should try our best to respect, every fighter, win or lose. Because, there are very few sports where you risk your life every time you compete. So, yeah, hopefully he gets better soon.
Yeah. I was going to say that, Joe. I think we take for granted sometimes like how dangerous the sport can be. Like you say, we don't want to hear that these things happen, but they happen. Morel, class act. He wasn't. He's trying to get the win, but he wasn't trying to. And you see the great sportsmanship by him. Helping his opponent to the corner after that. So yeah, man, we just hope that his opponent recovers swiftly and quickly. And yeah, man.
Yeah, and then one last comment here. Big Bro says, Zurdo looked like Bitcoin today. First thing I did was check mine. It said, took a beating. That downward spiral. But yeah, like we said, we'll be back soon. Thank you guys for keeping that chat lit. We'll be back next time, mates. Thank you guys. Let's go, mates. Shout out to El Venado. You're going down, mate. Josh Warrington. Shout out to Leeds. Shout out to LAFC, too, for winning the cup. Oof. City of Champions. LA. Let's go, Mike. Gareth Bale.
That World Cup coming.
Let's go, Mike.
Michael, you already know I'm a fun guy.
Hola amigos, soy Jorge AtR. Quiero mandar un saludo para mis amigos de Contra las Cuerdas, que se le muchas ganas. Un abrazo, muchas bendiciones.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. You know what mine is? Let's box, bitches. It's almost fight night.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you for the support. Keep doing your thing. You're doing a great job. So thank you and best wishes.
Huge shout out to Against the Ropes.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you guys for the interview and hope to see you guys soon.
Against the Ropes, always doing the right thing.
Shout out to Against the Ropes, man. I appreciate you guys for having me, taking the time out y'all day.
Against the Ropes, #1.
Freddie Roach.
Thank you very much.